Hey everyone, welcome back to Poplar Preparedness. Everything is getting more expensive out there except for one thing. Yeah, that's right, the stock market. The stock market's not getting more expensive. It keeps seemingly to go down, but everything else is going up in price. If you've been to the store lately, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've been to the store in the last 6 months, 10 months, 12 months, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to be talking about inflation and the impact it's having on places around the world, kind of where it's coming from, and we're going to be specifically looking at what's going on in Germany, which is just blow your mind crazy. You want to stick around for that. This video is brought to you by Genesis Gold Group. If you don't like seeing your investments in your stock, your portfolio in your IRA or 401k going up and down with the markets, you might want to move some of that or all of that over into physical gold, silver, platinum. If you do, you want to talk to our friends over at Genesis Gold Group about what they can do for you. Jonathan there and his team are fantastic. You can find their information down in the description down below, and they are supporters of this channel. So what is going on over in Germany, you might be asking? Well, let's just say from January 1st through now, meat prices in Germany are already up 40% for the year. That's a pretty big increase. That's enough to get your attention as you're going shopping, right? Are your prices that much? I don't know. But then we hear this from the Germany's Meat Industry Association. Not a government agency, but a private business association, right? They says, in 4 to 6 months, we will have nothing on the shelves. What? Wait, what are you saying? 4 to 6 months, nothing on the shelves. That's not from some kooky conspiracy theorist. That's the German Industry Association of Meat. That's the meat packers saying the farmers are not producing enough pork. They're saying that they're not getting enough fattened pigs that are going to be getting to market, and they're going to run out of pork. They're going to run out of other meat as well. Germany is already the largest importer of meat in Europe. And where is this coming from? This is coming from bad government policies. Yep. Why is it always that when we go around to figure out what's going on, there's always some bad government policies behind it? The government is creating more and more bottlenecks, putting restrictions on farmers, putting restrictions on meat packing plants, putting restrictions on stores that sell meat. Not only is meat up 40% so far this year, but according to the Germany's Meat Industry Association, they're saying that the prices could go up another 20, 30, or 40%. Who knows, is what they said. But the reason for that is there's just not enough meat. It's hard to say when you run out of meat what the price will be. It's kind of one of those, does the price matter if the shelf is empty? It's kind of like a tree falling in the woods kind of question, right? It's kind of irrelevant, but yet, it'd be comforting if the price was still the same. Well, that's where we're going with Germany. They're already the largest importer of meat in Europe, and the reason for that is because their government continues to make it harder and harder for them to produce meat at home because, it's bad for the planet. The Green Party there actually is talking about putting an additional meat tax on top of the cost of meat in Germany already. Yeah, that's the problem, Green Party. The price of meat isn't too high enough already. Let's just make it higher. That will solve things. That will make things better for the planet. See, we're seeing the same kind of policy around the world, where you have a party come to power in a certain country or state, and they implement all these radical policies, whether it be with the electrical grid, and it's like, we're not going to produce all that dirty power here in our state or our country. So what do? Well, they're not generating enough power, so they end up importing electricity from other states or other countries. Because, them polluting over there is not the same as us polluting here. We're good. My car is not polluting, but your car is. Yeah, but my car doesn't take power off the grid, and see that smokestack over there, that's producing the power for your car. Shifting responsibility isn't the same as, taking responsibility. I know this is a crazy concept to just be putting out there on the internet for people to actually think for themselves. We have government red tape around the world that are basically just shifting blame, and it creates more and more inefficiencies as it goes along. Germany is saying, we don't want to produce this meat because it's bad for the planet, but we'll import this meat from other places. You see a problem with that? What do they say about communism? The problem with communism is you always end up running out of other people's meat. And that's very real. The possibility in Germany, too, is that what happens when all the countries around them just stop selling the meat because of the food shortages that are coming, the meat shortages that are coming. Beef prices are about to go parabolic in the United States, partially due to a lot of government regulations and bad policies that have caused feed prices to go through the roof. We got drought issues happening, and without irrigation of crops, we're having just feed costs are going up, and a lot of farmers in the United States are just dumping their cattle on the market, and they have been for months and months and months. That's why the price of beef has been relatively stable and actually down a little bit. But as all those farmers run out of cattle, we're going to see that price go parabolic. There's a certain point where we need to see that the real problem here is not just government printing money, but government printing red tape. Red tape that makes everything more difficult to get from point A to point B, to produce widgets, to produce food, becomes more and more of a hassle, and more people finally just throw up their hands and say it's just not worth it. As I was out in South Dakota just briefly before, when I did that interview with the farmers out there, that's what they said. The biggest problem they're having wasn't the weather. They're like, we can deal with the weather. What we can't deal with is the government bureaucracy that's going in and doing some ridiculous things. They're going in and meddling with things that they don't even understand. And they're messing up systems that exist. Without those systems working the way they're supposed to work, food doesn't get produced. Or dramatically less food gets produced. We see this in Sri Lanka, right? Where the government stepped in and said, artificial fertilizers, we need to stop using them. Everyone needs to stop using them right now. And they went from being a net exporter of food to being a net importer of food, and they ran out of money. They literally had tankers sitting off their coast full of fuel saying, we need you to pay us. We have it here, just pay us. And the Sri Lankan government couldn't. And that's why there was all these crowds walking across the presidential lawn. Yeah, that was happening because the government fell because they made these stupid policies. And we're seeing that around the world where we have failed policies that are just damaging economies, supply chains, and food production around the world. Smart countries who actually have a little bit of foresight are stockpiling food like nobody's business. Dragon country still has record imports of food because they know that hard times are coming. If you're smart, you would be importing food into your family and stockpiling it as well because hard times are coming. Inflation of prices are going to keep going up. Food inflation and energy inflation, every kind of inflation is hitting us on all fronts, and it's not going to let up. It's going to get worse. When inflation comes back down, you don't see the prices come back down. They just stop going up quite as fast. Keep that in mind. Prices that you're seeing for certain things like canned goods, they will never go back down. You will tell your children that you lived in the day when you could buy a can of beans for 55 cents at a Wally World or an Aldi, and they'll look at you like you're crazy. Okay? That was just less than a year ago. That was, in some places, less than 6 months ago. But you can't buy a can of beans anymore. You can buy green beans, but you can't buy like real beans. The prices aren't coming back. They're just going to go up from here. So what do? Might want to buy now. If you can, buy as much as you can. Stockpile it, because future you will thank current you for stockpiling now. All right, folks. Keep pressing on to get more prepared for inflation, to provide for your family, and to get away from the inflation pressures. If you found this video to be useful, helpful, you might want to check out this other video from me right here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you later. Steve Poplar out.